2023 to build the Africa we want. Trade between our countries continues to grow as well. Kenyan exports to South Africa are expanding, creating greater balance and mutual benefit. It is actually a joy to get into stores and supermarkets and be able to see products made in Kenya, tea, coffee, and many others. We are proud of the milestone we achieved when South Africa and Kenya launched the first consignment traded under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This shows that the AfCFTA is not just an inspiration, it is a living instrument that is already an inspiration. It is a living instrument that is already transforming intra-African trade. There is still much potential to be unlocked in this regard. We must continue to improve logistics to facilitate easier movement of business people and promote investment partnerships. Opportunities abound in infrastructure, in automotive, manufacturing, agro-processing, digital innovation, renewable energy, healthcare, and education. I welcome also the growing cooperation between Kenya Airways and the South African Airways, which is improving connectivity and strengthening tourism and business exchange. We recognize Kenya's leadership in digital innovation and renewable energy, areas where our collaboration can make a real difference to Africa's development and resilience. We meet at a time of global uncertainty, my dear brother. We're all affected by the conflicts on our continent, in the Middle East, in Ukraine, and other parts of the world. The conflict that continues in the Sudan is a very troubling one, and we must recognize your efforts as part of IGAD to continue to find ways of resolving this disaster. African countries are feeling the impact of rising fuel prices as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. Our position is clear. Dialogue and diplomacy must prevail over confrontation. South Africa and Kenya share a commitment to multilateralism and peaceful resolution of disputes. We stand for a rules-based international order applied fairly and universally and consistently. South Africa and Kenya continue to play important roles in seeking solutions to conflicts in our respective regions and on our continent. And together, our countries have stood firm for dialogue, for reconciliation, and an African-led process to resolve disputes. We remain committed to working side by side within the African Union and the regional organizations that we belong to prevent conflict, to support peace negotiations, and to strengthen democratic governance. Our continent must speak with one voice on a number of issues that affect the lives of our people and people generally in the world, guided by our own interests and aspirations. Partnerships with the world must be based on respect, equality, and shared prosperity. We reiterate our call for reform of global institutions, including the UN Security Council and international financial bodies, to better reflect today's realities and give Africa its rightful place. Africa requires equitable access to climate finance and technology to support a just energy transition. At the same time, we must undertake a digital transformation that advances inclusion and innovation. South Africa and Kenya can lead in areas such as artificial intelligence, fintech, and cybersecurity. As we look ahead, our cooperation must place people at the center, creating opportunities for youth empowerment, women empowerment, and promoting inclusive growth for all. Allow me once again to warmly welcome you and to your delegation as well. May this state visit deepen our friendship and contribute meaningfully to Africa's unity and prosperity. You and I also took time to deal with the challenges that we as South Africa are facing with regard to migration. And we dealt with that, and we sought to understand the causes of migration and how best all countries on the continent can work together to address this challenge of migration, because it is not only unique to South Africa. And I explained that South Africans are not xenophobic. South Africans are Africans. They want to live with other Africans peacefully, and our people are calling on us as leaders to resolve the many challenges that are brought to bear by the challenge of migration. And I did say that as South Africa we are addressing this matter, and I was rather pleased that you had good understanding on this issue as well. So working together, South Africa and Kenya can help shape a peaceful, integrated, and thriving African continent that is always able to resolve its own problems under the slogan, African Solutions for African Problems. Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome once again.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished members of government, I want to take this opportunity first and foremost to express my gratitude to you, Mr. President, and to the people of South Africa for the warm welcome that has been extended to us as the Kenyan delegation, and the generous hospitality that we have received ever since we stepped in this great country. Mr. President, thank you very much for extending an invitation to me to undertake this state visit. Building on your own visit to Kenya in 2022, and to commend you, Mr. President, for taking very bold steps when we met in 2022 to unlock some of the outstanding issues that have been there before and for a long time. And today we celebrate some of the achievements of your visit to Kenya. I remember visiting this great country when I came to address the Pan-African Parliament, and the experience that I have witnessed ever since coming here since yesterday. As you've said, Mr. President, we are in a very uncertain geopolitical position. There is economic disruption in many parts. We have weakening multilateralism, and this has continued to exert pressure on our developing economies. This calls on us to explore deeper engagement between our countries, and as you have said, Mr. President, South Africa and Kenya are large economies in our region, and there is room, depth, and width for us to explore in making our economies integrate more, so that we can exert benefits for the people of South Africa and the people of Kenya. I want to affirm that the Kenya and South Africa enjoy very strong and cordial relationships that is anchored on mutual respect, historical solidarity, and Pan-Africanism, and the continued expansion of cooperation across trade and investment, education, health, aviation, tourism, and people-to-people exchanges gives us greater possibilities of building this relationship into the future. Despite significant progress, Mr. President, that has been made over the years, there is still huge and considerable untapped opportunities for our two economies and for our two countries. Our two economies, by and large, are complementary. The strategic positioning of South Africa in the southern part and Kenya in the eastern part gives us an opportunity to deepen cooperation in trade, in logistics, industrialization, technology, and especially private sector partnerships, which I see as an anchor for the growing relationship between our two countries. As you have said, Mr. President, trade between our two countries has been growing. We have more imports from South Africa than we have exports from Kenya. But on the flip side, we have more investments from South Africa into Kenya, more than investments coming from Kenya to South Africa. That presents to us a dichotomy that can be explored on what can be done to leverage on the complementarity of our two economies. The JCC remains the principal mechanism for structured dialogue and expanding this and advancing this bilateral cooperation. And I want to recall that in Nairobi in 2021, the first JCC was undertaken in Nairobi. It was reviewed in 2022. And again, as you have said, Mr. President, in June this year, on the 23rd, we will be looking at another possibility to hold another second session of JCC. And I want to affirm Kenya's readiness to participate fully and constructively to further our collective interest. I appreciate the ongoing consultation towards elevating our bilateral relations into a strategic partnership framework. And against that background, the conclusion of the additional agreements in trade facilitation, maritime cooperation, gender equality, and women empowerment on our technical, vocational, and training centers in arts, culture, and sports are an important milestone for the visit that I am undertaking today, because these agreements will add momentum and value as we sign them today, and their effective implementation will grant the people of our two countries tangible benefits for our citizens. Your Excellency, when we made the decision on your visit to Nairobi to ease the travel between our two countries, it may have looked like it was a small decision, but today you can see, Mr. President, it has created a very big buzz between our two countries. As you have said correctly, it has given us an opportunity for people-to-people movement. When I was asking you for this arrangement, I didn't know that it would benefit South Africa more than Kenya. Today, there are more Kenyans traveling to South Africa and spending our money in South Africa than there are South Africans coming to Kenya. But the positive side is that in the process, there are more South African companies investing in Kenya and working with us through private-public partnerships and business and enterprise. And so the decision we made, Mr. President, was, in my estimation, mutually beneficial. It has enhanced the people-to-people relationship. It has built a bigger ecosystem of business and entrepreneurs between our two countries, and has created more investment opportunities for our two people. Mr. President, your automobile industry is a big sector. And my Minister for Trade here will be looking for opportunities on how automobile companies in South Africa can work with their counterparts in Kenya, even on some of the spare parts that can be manufactured out of Kenya. Today, we know that there are many spare parts for the automobile industry coming from different parts of the world. It is our belief that those different parts of the world should include Kenya. And some of your automobile companies should find in our special economic zones, in our export promotion zones in Kenya, a space for them to manufacture, especially for the Kenyan and the East African market out of Kenya. And we will be having that conversation. I'm very happy that we will be attending later the business forum, and that there is a commitment by the private sector in Kenya and the business community here in South Africa to form a joint business council, which can provide a platform for discussions on investment, on trade, on building synergy, on joint ventures, private-public partnerships, and other avenues that can leverage on the opportunities that we have both in Kenya and in South Africa. We are aware that there are still some tariff and non-tariff barriers that constrain trade between our two countries. And this visit provides us, Mr. President, with an opportunity to explore some of those areas so that we can straighten them and make it much more easier and less restrictive for our business people to do what they do best, to trade and to connect people to goods and services. I'm looking forward, Mr. President, to the business forum so that we can undertake some of these discussions. I know the business forum is already underway, and we will be sharing moments with them later. I want to emphasize that Kenya and South Africa are leading African economies and regional gateways, carrying a shared responsibility in advancing continental integration. And when the first consignment under the ACFTA rules was undertaken between our two countries, it was a real moment that gave us an opportunity to look at the possibilities that exist and how we can enhance intra-African trade. On aviation, Mr. President, I think our two airlines, there is a big possibility, and I came with my principal secretary for matters aviation because part of the MOUs we'll be signing will give us greater, engagement and open more possibilities for us to move people faster, to move services faster, and also goods. And I think that will give us a greater possibility. I'm very happy that we'll be discussing matters to do with skills development, how we can share greater experiences. And allow me at this point, Mr. President, to commend you and South Africa on your leadership of the G20. It was a moment that this continent presented what we believed were continental priorities. And even though there were challenges of multilateralism, but South Africa stood firm and articulated the position, the collective position of our continent, our priorities, the reform of the UN system, the reform of the international financial architecture, the industrialization of our continent, and the need for our continent to play its rightful role in the discourse that is going on globally. And I want to commend you, Mr. President, and South Africa for projecting the African position in the best way that it could have been done. We just finished the Africa Forward Summit in Nairobi a couple of weeks ago, and we will be carrying the same message to the G7 as the African position as was fashioned at the G20. We will be presenting that as well to the G7 so that the African position becomes unequivocal, clear, and in a manner that projects the best interest of our continent. I want to recognize South Africa's leadership in vaccine and pharmaceutical manufacturing. Some of your companies are already in Nairobi. I remember discussing this with your new ambassador to Nairobi yesterday. And we will be working together towards creating an ecosystem that does not make Africa vulnerable as we saw during the COVID time. We have to build our own capacity in this continent of pharmaceutical manufacturing, including vaccine manufacturing, so that we can deal with whatever pandemics come our way, and we can also take charge of our health requirements as a continent. In fact, I remember yesterday your ambassador mentioning about Aspen and the kind of investment they want to make in Nairobi and the footprint they are already establishing in Kenya. And I did commit that Kenya is going to support, find necessary partnerships that will support that manufacture. Mr. President, you and me discussed the whole subject about migration and the need for us to provide opportunities in our continent. I think part of the challenge South Africa is facing because it's a much more developed country. And therefore, it's easier for people to come here to look for services, to look for opportunity. The answer to this is to make sure that services and opportunities exist everywhere in our continent to avoid some of the challenges that we are facing. And therefore, as a champion as I spearhead the reform of the AU and its structures to make it fit for purpose and to better articulate the position of our continent on matters of investment, on matters of access to resources for our development. The President and I agreed that a fit-for-purpose Africa Union will help create the solidarity between countries so that we can provide opportunities for our citizens and avoid unnecessary, competition over resources and over opportunities that sometimes result in the kind of challenges that we have. And I fully understand, when people are competing for resources, when people are competing for opportunities. And therefore, it is important and imperative for us to create opportunities everywhere in our continent so that the people of this continent can move together and not unnecessarily create conflict. Your Excellency, the leadership of South Africa on matters to do with peace and security in our region. I want to commend you as we undertook the process in South Sudan. South Africa played a major role. As we have, as it is now in the Sudan, we are all engaged. And South Africa, as a member of the P5, has provided immense guidance. And I want to confirm that we are working jointly on matters peace and security in our continent. And Kenya will continue to play our rightful role in making sure that we contribute to the peace and stability in our region, whether it is in the DRC, Congo, in Somalia, or in the Sudans. And I want to reaffirm Kenya's commitment to working closely with South Africa in advancing reforms at the AU on matters to do with peace and security, and also on global governance. Mr. President, thank you very much on my own behalf and behalf of my delegation. I want to say we are truly grateful for the hospitality expended to us and for the warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President. I'm told that the media were most interested in what you and I had to say, and they have been making requests that they would now like to go and rest because they've been working very hard. So we will allow the media to take their leave and go and rest whilst we continue working as they rest.
You may be seated. Your Excellencies, President Ramaphosa and President Ruto, ministers, senior government officials, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome. Karibu sana. Your Excellencies, we will now commence with the official proceedings of the signing ceremony between the Republic of South Africa and the Republic of Kenya. Your Excellencies, 6 memorandum of understandings between the Republic of South Africa and the Republic of Kenya, respectively, will be signed today. Your Excellencies, and I have the honor to call upon the signatories of the first agreement to be signed, Minister Lamula and Minister Kinyayu. Ministers, please, protocol. The agreement to be signed is a memorandum of understanding on facilitation of trade through cooperation in the areas of standardization, technical regularization, conformity assessment, accreditation, and metrology. Thank you, ministers. You may now shake hands and exchange your agreements. Thank you, ministers. You may return to your seats. Asante sana. Your Excellencies, the second agreement to be signed, I call upon Minister Creasy and Minister Joho to sign a memorandum of understanding in shipping and maritime cooperation. Ministers, protocol. Thank you, ministers. You may now take the handshake opportunity and exchange your agreements. Your Excellencies, I have the honor to request Minister Lamula again and Minister Cheptumo to sign the Memorandum of Understanding in the promotion of partnership on gender equality and women empowerment. Ministers. Please exchange protocol. Thank you. Congratulations, ministers. You may return to your seats. Thank you, Asante Sana. Your Excellencies, the fourth agreement, I have the honor to request Minister Manamela and Minister Ogamba as the signatories to sign the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in the field of technical and vocational education and training. Ministers. Thank you and congratulations, ministers. The handshake, thank you. Thank you, ministers. You may return to your seats. Exchange of the agreements, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, ministers. Protocol. Your Excellencies, the fifth agreement, I now have the honor to request Minister Nyonso and Minister Cheptumu again as signatories to sign the Memorandum of Understanding in the field of arts, culture, and heritage. Ministers. Protocol exchange the agreements. Thank you and congratulations, ministers. You may have the handshake. An exchange of your agreements. Thank you, ministers. Your Excellencies, I respectfully ask Minister Nyonso to remain again as a signatory to the last agreement with Minister Joko. And this is the agreement, Memorandum of Understanding in the field of sports and recreation. Ministers. Thank you and congratulations, ministers. You may exchange and the handshake. Thank you. Your Excellencies, we've now come to the end of the signing ceremony. I would like to thank His Excellency President Ramaphosa and President Ruto for witnessing the signing ceremony. Your Excellencies, Mungu awabariki. God bless us all. In conclusion, I now take the opportunity to call on the presidential spokesperson to facilitate the media briefing. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, Your Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen of the media. We will now kick off with the media briefing, starting with President Ramaphosa delivering his remarks. In turn, he will invite President Ruto to also deliver his remarks. Thereafter, we'll open the floor to questions with those that we've discussed beforehand. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is it on? I don't have to switch it on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ngwenya. Your Excellency, President William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, and ministers from Kenya and South Africa, ambassadors and high commissioners who are here present, and members of the media, and senior officials in both our two governments. This morning we were privileged to warmly welcome His Excellency President Ruto and Mrs. Rachel Ruto, together with my wife, who have accompanied, or who are accompanied by the delegation from Kenya. Our countries enjoy long-standing ties of friendship, solidarity, and cooperation over many years. These ties are rooted in our shared history, our common aspirations for African development, and our mutual commitment to peace, democracy, regional integration, and multilateralism. Kenya remains one of South Africa's most important strategic partners in East Africa and on the continent more broadly. We have just concluded our official engagements, which included a one-on-one meeting and our official talks, whilst the two First Ladies have also had an opportunity to engage with a number of key role players in early childhood development. They visited a center like that in Mamelodi and will be reporting back to us on their experience this morning. Later today, we will address the Kenya-South Africa Business Forum. The memorandum of understanding that have just been signed, as we all witnessed, provide a legal framework to further expand our cooperation, a cooperation that continues to deepen each time our officials and our ministers engage with each other. During our negotiations and exchanges, we extensively reflected on our bilateral relations. We have expressed satisfaction at the current state of our relations, which is coordinated through the Joint Commission for Cooperation at the level of our two foreign ministers. Our economic partnership is one of the most strategic pillars of our bilateral cooperation. Kenya remains South Africa's largest trading partner in East Africa, and it is also an important destination for South African investment on the continent. Leading South African companies have made significant investments in Kenya in sectors such as pharmaceutical services, retail and financial services, information and telecommunications, manufacturing, business services, and infrastructure development. South Africa's development finance institutions, such as the Development Bank of Southern Africa, alongside private financial institutions, are increasingly expanding their footprint in Kenya, particularly in renewable energy, infrastructure, and private sector development. We equally welcome the growing participation of Kenyan businesses in the South African market, and the strengthening of commercial linkages between East and Southern Africa. But as South Africa, we want to see more Kenyan businesses investing in our market, and we want to see more Kenyan goods being on the shelves of our country, our shops in South Africa. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement provides a very unique opportunity for our two countries to further increase trade relations. In January 2024, I was pleased to